Hey everyone, what up? Matt Kaiser here. Now the Fate series has come a long way since its fabled origins, with the original Fate Stay Night visual novel released all the way back in 2004. And afterwards, it's become a multimedia franchise, sporting multiple anime, manga, merchandise, as well as a mobile game that will prey on those with piles of money to burn, countless hours to spiral downwards, grind to a never-ending cycle to appease your Fate waifus that you'll never ever get back. You don't want to get into Fate Go. And of course, as well, visual novels and video games as well. However, with this latest new entry, Fate Samurai Remnant, it seems that this one is taking more of a bold approach to the series. Not only by offering a new story and experience for seasoned Fate fans, offering as well as a brand new set team, featuring mostly an original cast of characters, as well as even featuring some, familiar faces and integrating them into the story, but it is also serving as a potential entry to newcomers as well. And given that I am indeed a fan of the series, I would see whether or not Fate Samurai Remnant does exactly those things well. And with that said, special thanks to Koei Tecmo Europe for giving me a review code for this game. I was absolutely thrilled and honored for them to once again provide me another code. It was absolutely awesome, and honestly, they deserve some love as well. And as you'll see here, all the footage will be from the PS5 version. But before we begin, if you like what you've just seen here, then by all means, like the video, click that subscribe button if you're new, and hit that bell notification icon if you want to get updated by all future JRPG content from yours truly. Not only that, but I'm currently in the middle of playing Chrono Trigger, and hopefully by the end of this year, I'll be able to upload my 500 subscriber special, where I'll be able to review said Chrono Trigger, as that's considered to be one of the best JRPGs ever, so please do look forward to that. Anyway, I think with all of that said, ready your swords, grab your command spells, and deploy your servant into battle, as we head straight into Fate Samurai Remnant. So our story is set in the 4th year of the Kennen era period in old Japan, where we follow our main character, Miyamoto Iori, adopted son and apprentice of Japan's legendary Miyamoto Musashi. You know, master of the sharpening oar, hero of the blind sun, or
progenitor of being a hack!
Okay, maybe not that last bit, Sasuke. However, because of his master passing away, he was unable to complete his training of the Niiten Ichiru style, aka the way of the sword, as well as being deemed born in the wrong period. But his life starts to change when he's been chosen to serve as one of the 7 masters of the Waxing Moon ritual, or
It's murder, death, kill!
The Holy Grail War.
Did I stutter?
Yeah, Rin, you did stutter. This ritual is where 7 masters are chosen to partake, being able to summon heroic spirits from different time periods to act as their servants and fight to the death, and whoever wins will have their wish granted. Actually, it is actually a murder, death, kill now that I think about it. Maybe Rin was onto something. Anyway, I'm off topic. Not only that, but he's also been granted his very own servant in the form of Saber, who seems to not recall their memory or true name just yet. With that all established, the duo will have to fight to survive and use their power and cunning to not only win the ritual, but also make sure that Edo doesn't get caught in its destructive battles that will entail in this ritual alone. So, if you are a Fate fan who are looking for, an amazing story, then I think Fate Samurai Remnant does that front very well and delivers on all fronts, with having lots of great twists and turns, as well as lots of tons of emotional and hype moments that truly feel like a Fate anime in itself, as well as providing an interesting take of how it handles the usual Fate formula. Even if I'm not gonna lie, it does feel so close to the original Fate Stay Night, but at least in a different manner. Not only that, but it also contains a very good cast of characters and dynamics that just makes the journey overall engaging and just worth it, particularly with Iori and Saber's dynamics being one of the best in the series, with the former being more level-headed, the straight man, as well as relatable, and later in the game he actually does develop to be a pretty good protagonist, almost on the level of Shiro. Almost though. And then you have the latter, who's more childish, outgoing, funny, and just a joy to watch. But it's honestly their emotional arc and backstory you get to find out that truly makes you feel for Saber. Honestly, Saber in this is just so wholesome in this. And I have to say a lot the same for, well, of the other servants and masters that you get to meet and encounter, who of which are equally enjoyable, though admittedly some are better than the others in the entire cast. My favourite character in this game, however, is Miyamoto Musashi herself, who was once Iori's master but now reincarnated into
a woman.
Cause, well, you know, fate do be like that sometimes. Happy she's out of Gacha Hell as well, including Jolter on that front. Another interesting turn the story also brought was the inclusion of rogue servants, other servants that weren't tied to any masters, but some of them do actually have roles and even provide as allies. And majority of them are from other Fate titles, especially Ku from the original Fate Stay Night. You know, that one servant who does surely not die in a lot of other media.
Rogue Archer. True name, Arjuna. First appearance, Fate Extella Link. Rogue Rider. True name, Temamo Arya. First appearance, Fate Extra CCC. Rogue Caster. True name, Cersei. First appearance, Fate Grand Order. Rogue Assassin. True name, Li Xuan. Due to the age difference, his first appearance in this state is Fate Grand Order.
What just happened?
Servant class collaborator. True name, MrXionPetra 92. Without realizing it, you summoned me here using your command seal. Look at your hand. You wanted me here to collaborate with you on your review of Fate Samurai Remnant, so here I am. You're very welcome, by the way.
Okay then, I'm just gonna ignore that and let's just move on. Where are we again? Oh yeah, you also meet this guy named Boss who runs a shop in Azuka in Iori's hometown, called Babylonia, and is totally not Gilgamesh. I absolutely enjoyed their integration to the story, and some of the original Rogue ones like Rogue Berserker and Saber here were handled greatly. Not only that, but I also do think that the story is good enough for newcomers to enjoy, as Samurai Remnant does a good job explaining how things work in this universe, and they get a good grasp on what a Fate title usually does, as well as providing some context and lore to a lot of the other servants. Though, if I had some gripes with the story, I can definitely say that it can feel a bit padded at times, where you go to some places to investigate, only having to retreat back home. It definitely felt like moments like them were just to justify its length as an RPG, and given that it's a story-driven game, expect a very slow burn at the start, and lots of cutscenes with a lot of them just be none other than exposition. But other than those minor gripes I have, overall, I thought the story was great. In terms of visuals, Fate Samurai Remnant is just beautiful to look at, with tons of pretty scenery throughout its Japanese landscapes and towns. Lots of them are absolutely stunning and a sight to behold, especially Yoshiwara both day and night. As for character models, they are absolutely all amazing to look at, and just very well expressive thanks particularly to Wei Rotaru's character design and the amazing 2D character portraits that just filled with so much flavor and make for some pretty good meme material, especially Musashi's and Saber's case. Now playing this on the PS5, and I have to say, the game ran very smoothly, getting near consistent 60 FPS, which made the experience felt very clean for the most part. There were a few instances, I'll admit, where I did get some frame drops, but that's mainly when things get too heated for the game, especially, if you know what I mean. But again, those are very few and very far between, and they didn't take me out of the game. I have to say, artistically, Fate Samurai Remnant just looks impressive. So we've talked about how great the story is and how good the game looks, but what about we talk about, well, the meat and potatoes of the game, or I guess rice and miso soup of the game, as Saber would like to say. And that is, well, the gameplay. So Fate Samurai Remnant is an action RPG with very fast paced real-time combat, where you get to control mainly as Iori, who comes with his own variety of elemental stances that let him switch between different sword styles, and all of them have their own pros and cons. Like War stance here being very fast and fluid, though not entirely as powerful as the other stances. And then you have things like Earth stance, which gives you a shield that protects you from damage, but your attack speed is much more heavier and slower. Though throughout the game, you'll be able to get more stances with each of their own uses, and switching them between those two during mid-battle becomes very smooth. And underneath your HP, there's also a bar that you're able to fill once you do a lot of damage, and once filled, you'll be able to unleash a Valor Strike, which is this powerful super move that can deal a good amount of damage. Iori also has access to Magecraft, allowing him to use magic that can be used for either support or offensive plays, at the cost of red gems though, which can be refilled by either enemy drops or later in the game you are able to craft them at the workshop. The MC also has the ability to dodge attacks, giving a good amount of iframes. Though later down the line, once you get access to a skill tree, you'll be able to unlock things like Riposte that lets you counterattack enemies and bosses after doing a perfect dodge, as well as getting a parry skill that allows you to block and counter enemy attacks at the right time. Though Iori can take down human grunts with ease, it's mainly when it comes to human mini-bosses, as well as both monsters and bosses including enemy servants, that become a lot more difficult for him, and they can only be staggered once they're open. However, once you are paired with Saber, as well as any rogue servants you come across, things become a lot more easier, as you'll be able to get access to the affinity techniques that will mow down foes easy, and later in the game, Saber will even occasionally call you to perform Link Strikes, which are these two badass finishing attack moves at the cost of, well, Saber being vulnerable for a limited time. And not only that, you also have the chance to play as Saber as well as the rogue servants for a limited time, and their attacks do incredible amounts of damage and are able to stagger lots of enemies. Though the challenge really hits into the factor once you get to the bosses, with each of them packing their own hard-hitting attacks, which you have to pay attention and counter against, as well as some of them having their own shell gauge. Though once you deplete that shell gauge, they become much more vulnerable and open to attack, and can get staggered very more efficiently, and it's just absolutely satisfying. Some of them will even throw these QTEs at you that you have to just, mash the correct buttons. And you know what? I'm not going to do it. Just play the montage. In general, a lot of these bosses are absolutely tough, but mainly fair. I think that is where the combat of Fate Samurai Remnant really comes into its own. With its variety of stances as well as in-depth RPG mechanics, it overall makes for an engaging combat system and one of the best that Omega Force has created. As while there are some Musou elements that Omega Force is known for, mainly with taking down grunts with ease, it's when you come across both the bosses and non-human enemies that really apply a lot of key thinking and strategy. In fact, this game completely throws away the Musou bit of having to take down enemies, taking down multiple waves of enemies just to conquer parts of the map, and it just gives you general encounters you would normally have in an RPG. If there's only one gripe I do have to combat, it's that the camera really could have been a lot better. Outside of combat, I would say exploration is pretty solid, going through multiple towns and areas where mostly are just, linear, but you do have some secret pathways that are worth interacting in. especially at times when Saber runs ahead of you and discovers something. Doing a lot of these do help increase Saber's skill points, and while I wouldn't say it's my favorite choice to explore towns and areas in a JRPG, and I'm not one who likes to squeeze through cliffs and crawl down segments, I think the overall exploration is pretty decent. When it comes to music, Fate's Remnant does have, well, a pretty amazing soundtrack, with lots of bangers, especially the battle themes, as well as some calming themes that really give a good mood and atmosphere during exploration. They really capture the style of what this game setting is all about, and even though I do think there could have been a lot more battle tracks than what we're given, what we actually got though was still good enough. Have a listen. Lastly, we gotta talk about the content in this game. And oh boy, there's a lot. So, let's just break down each of them and hopefully survive. First we have our Edo commissions and local trials, which are basically, your basic challenges of doing things like killing enemies, break statues, as well as pet dogs and cats. Which yes, you can both pet the dog and cat in Fate's Remnant, and doing so does restore your HP, which is just pure innovative gameplay. Take note, future game devs who want to incorporate this feature in your games. Not only that, but you'll also be able to come across digressions, which are basically like side quests / sub-stories for your rogue servants and allies. Doing them not only increases your bond with them, but you also get rewards. And not only that, but even certain parts, you get to play as them each on their own. There are also some mini games like maintaining your sword, which grants you an EXP multiplier, carving statues that increase EXP, and even one that lets you just stop a fight in town.
When does the magic begin?
You'll also be able to have access to your magical workshop that lets you upgrade your character and other benefits, as well as able to change, equip, empower, or dismantle your mountings, craft gems, and equip rogue servants. You know what? With the stances, subquests, and certain servants gain intros, it's almost like a Fate equivalent to a Yakuza Like a Dragon game. Heck, this game even takes place in Edo, Japan, which the remake of Ishin was also set in. I guess the only thing it needed was just now a karaoke minigame. Also get access to Battle Ray collections, which let you re-fight bosses throughout the story and digressions, each with their own reward, and some of them are even tougher than before, which is awesome. Further note, At the time of this review, Koei Tecmo has announced that they will be updating the Red Collections, which will let you play as the other servants, which, again, that's awesome, as well as you also get 2 new difficulties, one for very easy and one for very, very hard. On topic, the other gameplay feature is this Spirit Front conflict thing, which is basically the snake-like board minigame, where your goal is to conquer as many ley lines, even going through waves of enemies under a time limit, where you can even beat them before times run out. You also get bonus materials. It's mainly for story purposes, and I'll say it's a solid gameplay mechanic, but the tutorials here really drag a lot. And also, speaking of said story, throughout the game you'll also be finding dialogue choices. Each of them will have their own outcome and cutscenes, and will lead you to multiple endings, with a total of 4 different endings, one of which is also a joke ending. And as alternatively to that said ending, there's also a secret boss. Once you complete your first run of this game, you'll also be given the option of New Game Plus, as well as a new hard mode, and you can start all the way from Chapter 2 with a clever feature that lets you fast forward previous dialogue cutscenes that you have encountered. Playing this game on New Game Plus will allow you to find things such as new cutscenes, dialogue that will enhance the story beats even further, as well as brand new digressions with the other servants and masters, being able to play as them, even providing more context on lore and development for them, on top of also having more freedom for the dialogue choices as well. Another New Game Plus addition is the addition of, well, giant monsters, which are these powerful bosses scattered out through the game. And lastly, there's also a season pass that will bring about 3 upcoming DLC episodes, including new stories and new servants in the span of 2024. My first run for Fate Samurai Remnant took me about 34 hours, but in later runs, especially when I had to obtain the rest of the endings, I was able to almost double it in around 51 hours. Whew, that sure took a lot to talk about. Now with all that being said, what do I think about this game? And, well, let me look back at my claim and ask, does Fate Samurai Remnant truly achieve on not only being a great title for fans of the series, but also a good entry point for newcomers? And honestly, I'm delighted to say it does. It really does on many levels. It provides not only a fantastic story with tons of great moments and characters to get invested in, but it also has a spectacular combat system that truly lives up to the hype, especially compared to the awesome action scenes that Fate is truly known for. It's honestly great to see iconic and familiar faces play a role in this narrative, especially with the fan favorite Musashi, and I think it also does a good job of welcoming newcomers to the overall concept of how a Fate title works, with its iconic formula but in its own unique twist, giving them a taste of what the series is overall like. Though what they decide to do after getting to Fate after this game is a completely whole can of worms. Gigguk will be proud, or flabbergasted, given on how much time he spent trying to understand the Fate series. With that said and done, I give Fate Samurai Remnant 4.5 Tamamos out of 5. And with that...
Whoa, you're not going to talk about the Fate Extella games? Granted, Link is the better of the two in terms of combat and story, but I digress. What about Fate Extra Record, the remake? When is that coming out, huh?
Is that all? Are you done now?
You have 2 command sales left.
Well, go check out MrXionPetra on Twitter, as well as following him on Twitch.
All 3 command seals have been used. My work here is done.
Well then, now that has been over with. Thank you guys so much for watching this review, and until then, see you guys in the next video. Mad Kaiser out.